Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Zafri bin Zahid. Today we from Group 6 will be present about our assignment 1 for the class UNGS 2290 section 27. The question that we get from the assignment is describe the golden age of Islam, how it inspired the great achievements made by the Muslims, compare that with the dark ages. Okay, now I will begin with the introduction first about what is the golden age of Islam and the dark age of Europe briefly. The Muslim world has reached its golden age, which was from the middle of the 7th century to the middle of the 13th century, when Muslim kings built one of the biggest empires in history. Agro-businesses, the arts, economics, industry, law, literature, navigation, philosophy, sciences, sociology, and technology all benefited from the contributions made during this time by the artists, engineers, scholars, poets, philosophers, geographers, traders, and other members of the Islamic world, who both preserved earlier traditions and added their own invention and innovations. The name Dark Ages of Europe designated the period of decline that occurred in Europe following the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century. The majority of academics do not refer to this period as gloomy. Romans were the dominant civilization in Europe before the Dark Ages began. In the field of science, philosophy, politics, and architecture, they made the most significant contributions to the advancement of Europe. Although the Dark Ages in Europe and the Golden Age in Islam took place at different times and in various parts of the world, they nonetheless represent two distinct eras in human history with very different ends. New ideas were celebrated and investigated throughout the Golden Age of Islam, a period of intellectual and cultural prosperity. On the other hand, the European Dark Ages were a period of struggle and misery when people were more concerned with survival than with invention.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Akmal Imran and I will present about the Golden Age in terms of medical and education. During that time, Islamic medicine underwent significant breakthroughs that affected medical education and practice in Europe. Intense attempts were made to translate and enlarge the writings of Hippocrates, Rufus Hephaestus, Dioscorides, and Galen. Ibn Sina's greatest lasting influence was in medicine through his most renowned work Al-Qanun fi al-Tib, which means the canon of medicine. It's still one of the most significant medical texts ever written and functioned as the medical authority throughout Europe for 600 years. Ibn Sina should be noted for his contribution also to cardiovascular medicine. He also has stated that the heart is the most noble and greatest of all major organs of the human body. He also stated that an individual's mental health affects his or her physical health. Ibn Sina was also the first physician to describe meningitis, eye components, and heart valve, and discovered that nerves were to blame for impact muscular discomfort. From what we have heard just now, this renowned discovery that is still being used by medical practitioners nowadays is truly a remarkable success, and one of the greatest success in terms of medical research from an Islamic figure. The education sectors have been a renowned factor on why Islam has emerged as the powerhouse during the era. It's all centered towards the city of Baghdad, which locates the Bain al-Hikmah, in which means house of wisdom. The library started being built with an idea from some of Baghdad was notable caliphs such as Al-Rashid and Al-Ma'mun. They took particular interest in collecting world-renowned scientific publications. In addition to collecting literature from East and West, they brought together academics from all across the Muslim world to form one of the greatest intellectual academies in history. Every day, translators, scientists, scribes, authors, men of letters, writers, authors, copyists and others would gather in the House of Wisdom for translation, consuming literature, scribing, discourse, discussion, and debate. There, many papers and books in many scientific fields, intellectual concepts and thoughts, and language were transcribed. Men and women of many religions and races gathered at the House of Wisdom from all throughout Muslim civilization. Center of education was an enormous factor to the emergence of many renowned Islamic scholars such as Al-Khwarizmi, Al-Mas'udi, Al-Kindi, on which all of them are experiencing their educational journey.
Al-Khwarizmi, one of the most famous astronomers, geologists, and mathematicians in the Islamic Golden Era. He had translated so many books into the Arabic language from other languages, such as Sanskrit and Greek. He was one of the most brilliant students in Baghdad. He made most of his discoveries and scientific contributions in the period of 813 to 833. Al-Khwarizmi has done many discoveries in the field of mathematics, astronomy, and geology. One of his main discoveries is algebra, a very important branch of mathematics that deals with the symbols and the operations between them. Al-Khwarizmi defined the algebra in his famous book Hisab al-Jabr wal-Muqabala. The book has also discussed the solutions of the first degree and second degree equations, both analytically and geometrically.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Ilham Azmi and I will present to you about the age in terms of medical and education. So basically the ages usually refer to the 900 years of European history between the 5th and 14th century. The beginning of the ages of medicine were inclined to a place at the death of Bede in 753. When the Roman Empire crumbled, Europe descended into the Dark Ages. Superstition seeped back into medical ideas, and people were told that sickness were retribution from God. And because of that, hospital and medical school were constructed to assist the work of Arabic doctors like Razes, who advanced the science medicine. He was the first doctor to distinguish between measles and smallpox. By the Middle Ages, Europe had been ravaged by a devastating pandemic known as the Plague or Black Death, which killed millions of people. Doctors had no idea how to cure the plague, which came in two devastating strains. The phenomenon plague was transferred by air from person to person, whereas the bubonic plague was caused by flea bites. The Black Death epidemic had run its course by the early 1350s, but the plague reappeared every few generations for centuries. Modern sanitation, public health practice, and antibiotics have greatly diminished the impact of the disease, but have not eliminated it. Currently, plague occurs in fewer than 3,000 people per year worldwide. In addition, herbs, flowers, and scents were popular in the Middle Age and were intricately tied with magic and medicine. Sorry. Medicinal plants and herbs had an essential and significant role in pharmacopoeia. Herbs, spices, and resins were used to make medicines. Next one, we move on to the ages for education. So the education between that time is from the medieval times is mostly monasteries, on which the education emphasized on church learning method, whereby people of Europe being taught about the content of the Bible and church's regulations. And they also insist on teaching Latin to their children, as it is the language used in Christian religious manuscripts and obviously the official language of the Bible.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Ilham bin Mazlan and I'm going to present about the infographic, which is comparison between the golden age of Islam and the dark age of the Europe. The first difference of these two ages is the golden age start from the middle of the 7th century to the middle of the 13th century, while the dark age usually refers to the 900 years of European history between the 5th and 14th centuries. Next, move to the contribution of the scholars during their age. During the Golden Age, Muslim scholars have made so many significant contributions to the field of medicine, such as anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, and also surgery. However, the development of medicine field during the Dark Age is not so promising because the herbs, flowers, and scent were used as medicine during that time. Thirdly, the facilities during the Golden Age is quite encouraging because they have developed new medical treatment and procedure and also have founded the first hospital and medical schools. However, for the Dark Age, the medical schools and hospital were just about to be constructed to assist the work of Arabic doctors like Razes. Lastly, moving on to the educational perspective, the center of education during the Golden Age was an enormous factor to the emergence of many renowned Islamic scholars such as Al-Khawarizmi, Al-Mas'udi, and Al-Kindi, on which all of them are expertise in their educational journey. On the other hand, education from the medieval time, which is the Dark Age, is mostly monasteries, on which the education emphasized on church learning method whereby people of Europe being taught about the content of the Bible and the church regulations. That's all for me. Thank you.
In conclusion, it becomes clear that the Islamic Golden Age and the Dark Ages in Europe are two distinctly different eras in human history when we compare and contrast them. The former was distinguished by extraordinary and innovation, scientific advancement, and cultural wealth, whereas the latter was characterized by economic stagnation, political unpredictability, and cultural degradation. Both eras surely left their marks on the world, but it is obvious that the Golden Age of Islam had a considerably greater impact on human civilization, setting the groundwork for many of the scientific and cultural accomplishments that we still enjoy today. And that is all from us. Thank you and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.